The war between humanity and the Vishar Dominion had lasted for 11 long years, yet no one in the galaxy understood how humans kept surviving battles that should have wiped out entire species. Even the Vishar Queen herself often wondered what made humans so different, why they refused to die, why their will to survive was stronger than logic, stronger than fear, stronger than the laws of biology itself. Commander Ryan Calder stood on the shattered surface of Outpost Theta, his armor cracked, his visor fractured, and a deep wound carved across his shoulder. The kind of wound that should have ended him before he even reached the ground. But he was still moving, still breathing, still fighting. And this alone terrified the Vishar scouts watching from the shadows. The outpost had fallen just minutes ago. Explosions still echoed across the broken metal structures. Smoke curled into the blood-colored sky, and the last surviving humans regrouped around Ryan, each one exhausted, injured, and barely standing. Yet their eyes were sharp, their stance steady, and their spirits unbroken. This was the human way. "Commander, you're bleeding," Lieutenant Mara said, fear tightening her voice. She reached for his arm to steady him, but Ryan shook his head with a stubbornness only humans seem to possess. "I'll survive," he said calmly, even though the cut burned like fire spreading through his veins. But then something happened that none of them expected. The air shifted, vibrating as if an invisible storm approached. A cold whisper of energy washed over the battlefield, and every soldier froze. The Vishar Queen arrived. She descended from the sky inside a colossal organic transport, a dark, living vessel that pulsed like the heart of a beast. When the ship opened, the Queen stepped out gracefully, towering over every creature present. She was a being of silver armor fused with her own body, eyes burning like molten stars, and a presence so heavy it felt like gravity itself was bowing to her. The human soldiers pointed their rifles, hands shaking, breaths sharp, hearts pounding like drums of war. But the Queen did not attack. She did not order her warriors to strike. She simply looked at Ryan, directly, deeply, as if staring into the soul of a creature she could not understand. Her 4 pupils shrank sharply when she saw the wound on his shoulder, the torn flesh, the exposed muscle, the blood that should have drained his life within minutes. Instead, she witnessed something impossible, something that made her take one slow step backward. The wound was closing. Not fast, but steadily, cell by cell, layer by layer, regenerating without medical aid, without nanotech, without biopatches. This was not normal, not even for humans. The Vishar Queen whispered, her voice like a blade sliding over glass. "This should not be possible." Her elite guards flinched at the tremor in her tone, for their queen never expressed fear, never showed shock, never lost control of her emotion. Yet here she was staring at a wounded human as though she had just witnessed the birth of a new cosmic threat. Ryan gritted his teeth, feeling the strange warmth spreading through his wound. He didn't understand what was happening to him, but he refused to show weakness in front of the enemy. He lifted his chin, letting his blood drip onto the scorched earth. "Why are you looking at me like that?" he asked, though his voice sounded heavier than before. The Queen ignored the question. She raised one hand, scanning him with alien energy. Her eyes widened further, pupils quivering. "Your cells are rewriting themselves," she breathed. "This is not healing, this is evolution." The soldiers around Ryan exchanged terrified glances, and even he felt his heart drop for a moment, not out of fear of the Vishar, but from the unknown truth rising inside him. "What did you humans do?" the Queen demanded, stepping closer again, her silver talons scraping against the ground. "What have you become?" Ryan took a slow breath, the kind that carried a lifetime of human stubbornness, rage, and willpower. "We became what we had to," he said simply. The queen stared at him, and for the first time since the war began, she understood why the Dominion could not crush humanity, why cities that should have fallen stood tall again, why soldiers who should have died returned to the battlefield stronger. Humanity was changing, evolving, adapting faster than any species she had ever studied. But what she saw in Ryan was something else, something far beyond adaptation, something dangerous, something unstoppable, something the galaxy was not ready for. A low tremor shook the battlefield as the queen whispered to her guards, "This human is a threat to the Dominion." Her eyes never left Ryan. "And if one human can do this, then the entire galaxy is in danger." The human soldiers tensed, expecting the queen to strike, but instead she stepped back, her wings unfolding like blades of starlight. "We retreat," she commanded, her voice trembling again. "We must warn the council." And with that, the Vishar forces vanished into the sky, leaving humanity wounded, confused, but alive. Ryan stood still, feeling the last of his wound close beneath his armor, heat pulsing through his veins like the birth of a new power. "Commander? What are you?" Mara whispered, trembling. Ryan didn't have an answer, but the galaxy was about to learn it. Very soon.
The Vishar Queen did not simply retreat. She fled across the sky with a speed that made her guards tremble, her ship tearing through clouds and vanishing into the dark void above Outpost Theta. She had witnessed something that defied every scientific record, every medical law, everything she believed about humans. Inside the human outpost, silence spread like fog. None of the surviving soldiers spoke. Even the smoke from the burning towers seemed to pause in the air as they stared at Commander Rion Calder, the man whose wound had closed on its own, the man the alien queen feared. Rion stood tall, his breath steady but strangely deep. He could feel the heat under his skin still pulsing with life, as if something new had awakened inside him, something sleeping for centuries, now stirred by war and death. Mara approached him carefully, as though stepping near a wild animal. "Commander, does it hurt?" she whispered. Rion shook his head slowly. "No," he replied. "It feels like strength." Strength was an understatement. Every second, his senses sharpened. The sound of distant engines miles away, the vibrations of metal under his boots, even the faint electrical hum of the communication tower. He could hear all of it clearly, as if the world was speaking directly to him. But before anyone could ask more, the outpost alarms suddenly shrieked, scattering sparks of fear across the soldiers. Lieutenant Grayson ran to the console and shouted, "Commander, we have incoming transmissions from 3 different species, urgent, priority coded." 3 species contacting humans at the same time, without warning, without negotiation. That had never happened in the history of the war. "Patch them through," Rion said, his voice unexpectedly deep, almost resonant. The holographic projector flickered, filling the ruined command center with pale blue light. 3 faces appeared: the scaled chancellor of the Drath Syndicate, the crystalline high priestess of the Luri Ascension, and the armored warlord of the Garum Union. All of them powerful leaders, all of them sworn enemies of the Vishar, but none of them looked calm today. The chancellor leaned forward, hissing with fear. "Human commander, we received a message from the Vishar Dominion." The priestess added, her voice trembling like glass under pressure. "The alien queen sent a sector-wide alert." The Garum warlord slammed a metal fist on his console. "She claims your kind has changed." Rion felt a tight knot in his stomach, but he kept silent as the hologram continued. The Drath Chancellor read from the transmission. "The Queen says humans have evolved beyond their biological limits." The Luri priestess added, "She claims she saw a human regenerate a fatal wound in real time." The Garum warlord growled, "She fears you, human." Mara and the other soldiers exchanged stunned looks, but the warlord wasn't finished. She also warns that if even one human has this ability, then soon all humans may unlock it. The room fell silent again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was the electric spark of destiny. Rion stepped closer to the hologram. "What does the Dominion intend to do?" he asked, though he already felt the answer like a cold wind in his bones. The Chancellor inhaled sharply. "They have called for an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council." The priestess whispered, "A vote to decide the fate of humanity." The warlord snarled, "Your species may be declared a universal threat." The words hit the room like a bomb. Even the broken screens flickered at the force of it. Humans had always been seen as stubborn, resilient, unpredictable, but never as a danger to the entire galaxy. But now, that possibility was real, alive, and growing like a storm cloud on the horizon. Rion stayed silent for a long moment, his jaw tight, his fists slowly curling. "What does the Council want from us?" he finally asked. The Chancellor replied carefully. "They request a human representative to attend the meeting." The priestess added, "Someone who witnessed the incident." The warlord finished, "The galaxy wants to see the human who terrified the alien queen." Every human soldier turned slowly toward Rion. Even before the warlord's words finished leaving the hologram, they knew there was only one human the galaxy feared, and only one they wanted to examine: Rion Calder. Rion felt the strange heat pulse again beneath his skin, as if the unknown force inside him recognized the weight of destiny, the burden of representing not just a team, not an army, but the entire human race. "I will go," Rion said, his voice steady. Mara stepped forward quickly. "Commander, that could be a trap. If the Council labels humanity a threat, they might try to eliminate you." Rion looked at her with calm strength. "If we don't show them what really happened, if we don't face them, they will decide without us." The Chancellor nodded slowly. "The human is wise." But the priestess leaned closer. "You must be careful, Commander Calder. The alien queen fears you, but fear can make rulers act without logic." The warlord growled, "And if she convinces the Council that humans are too dangerous, they will unite against Earth." Rion inhaled deeply, feeling the fire inside him respond. "Then I will give them the truth." He stepped forward, armor scraping softly. "And I will show them what humanity truly is." The holograms faded, leaving only silence and the faint echo of distant thunder. The soldiers watched Rion, their uncertainty slowly turning into something stronger: belief. Because they realized something important, something powerful, something terrifying. If the alien queen feared Rion, if the Galaxian wanted to study him, if the Council wanted to judge humanity based on him, then Rion Calder was no longer just a commander. He was the first of something new, and the galaxy was about to witness it.
The journey to the Galactic Council was not a simple flight through space. It was a crossing into a political storm that could decide the life or extinction of an entire species. Even as the human flagship Solstice prepared for launch, the tension in the air was heavy enough to feel through armor, through metal, through bone. Commander Rion Calder stood at the center of the hangar, armored, focused, but strangely silent, the strange warmth still pulsing under his skin, alive and quiet like a coiled beast waiting to speak. Mara and Grayson watched him from a few steps away, whispering with nervous glances. "He's changing," Mara murmured. "Every hour he looks stronger." Grayson nodded slowly, and the galaxy already fears him. Rion could hear them despite the distance, despite the noise of engines. Every sound reached him with perfect clarity. He did not comment, did not react. Instead, he lifted his gaze toward the stars, feeling something he had never felt before:
A pull, a calling, as if the galaxy itself was watching him, waiting for him. The boarding ramp hissed open, and Admiral Theron approached with heavy footsteps, his expression grave. "Commander Calder," he said, "the Council has demanded your presence, and Earth has approved your travel. You will represent humanity." Rian nodded calmly. "Then, let's go." The Solstice lifted into the sky, engines roaring like a dragon awakening. The stars stretched into lines of white as the ship entered hyperspace. The crew moved with tense focus, but Rian stood alone near the observation deck, staring into the swirling blue vortex outside the window, his reflection flickering against the glass. His eyes, once brown, now carried a faint glow. Just a shimmer, barely noticeable, but real. He blinked slowly, unsure if he should feel afraid or powerful, unsure if he was becoming something new or simply revealing what humans always had inside them. Mara approached from behind, her voice soft. "Rian?" He turned, and she flinched for half a heartbeat, not from fear of him, but of the truth she saw in his changing face. "You're sure you want to face the entire council alone?" Rian nodded again. "If humanity is accused, then someone must stand there and speak for us." Mara swallowed, her voice trembling. "But they could kill you." Rian stepped closer, the ship's lights casting shadows across his armor. "If they try, they will learn what the Queen learned," he said quietly. "Humans do not die easily." The warmth under his skin pulsed again, a steady heartbeat of something ancient and unbreakable. Mara looked into his glowing eyes and exhaled shakily. "You're not the same man who landed at Outpost Theta." Rian looked back out at the rushing lights of hyperspace. "No," he whispered, "I'm not." When the Solstice dropped out of hyperspace, the entire crew gasped, for before them hovered a structure so massive it blocked the light of nearby stars. The Galactic Council Citadel, a floating ring of metal and crystal spanning hundreds of kilometers, glowing with billions of lights. Ships from thousands of species buzzing around it like insects around a sun. Grayson muttered, "I've never seen so many warships in one place." Mara whispered, "They're not here for war. They're here to watch us." Rian stepped forward as the docking clamps attached to the Solstice. A deep silence filled the ship as he approached the exit ramp. Not fear, not tension, but awe mixed with the weight of destiny. The ramp opened, revealing a massive hall of alien architecture, glowing veins of light pulsing through the stone-like walls, and standing in a semicircle were the council delegates, dozens of species with different bodies, different minds, different fears, all staring at the lone human who walked toward them. But one figure stood taller than all the others, her presence cold and sharp. The HFY Queen. Her eyes locked onto Rian instantly, not with hatred, but with something far more dangerous: recognition. As he stepped onto the illuminated platform, the Council High Speaker, a towering entity of living energy, raised its voice, thousands of translators flickering to life. "Commander Rian Calder of Earth, you have been summoned before the Galactic Council to answer accusations of biological escalation." Rian stood straight, the warmth under his skin rising like a tide. "I am here," he said. "Speak your charges." The Queen stepped forward, her silver talons tapping against the floor, her voice slicing through the hall. "This human," she said, "he survived an injury no species should survive. His body healed itself without technology, without medicine, without logic." She pointed at Rian, sharp and accusing. "His biology is evolving into something dangerous, something unpredictable, something that could threaten all life in this galaxy." Murmurs erupted across the hall, some fearful, some angry, some amazed. Rian lifted his gaze.
You believe humans are becoming a threat? The Queen leaned closer, her voice shaking. You are already a threat. Rian felt the warmth rising like fire spreading through his veins. He took one slow step forward, and the lights around him flickered. The council members recoiled as a wave of pressure rippled through the hall. Rian spoke, his voice powerful and calm. You fear humanity because we survive. The Queen hissed softly. No, human, we fear you because you refuse to stay weak. Rian's eyes glowed brighter, the warmth inside him flaring as if answering a call. And we never will, he whispered. The entire hall tensed, realizing something. This was not just a human. This was a new kind of human. And the galaxy was not ready, not even close.
The council chamber shook with tension, the air thick enough to feel on the skin. Dozens of species leaned forward, some in fear, some in curiosity, and some in a strange mix of respect and dread. Every eye was fixed on Commander Ryan Calder, the human who stood calmly under the weight of an entire galaxy's judgment. The Vishar Queen's silver wings folded tightly behind her back, a sign of agitation or caution, no one could tell which. She stared at Ryan with a mixture of fear and fascination, her voice trembling in a way no one in the galaxy had ever heard from her before. This human's cells changed, she said. They healed, adapted, and expanded without external aid. Evolution at impossible speed. A crystalline delegate from the Luray Ascension lifted her shimmering hand, her voice echoing like ringing bells. Commander Calder, do you understand what is happening to your body? Ryan inhaled slowly, feeling the warmth pulsing beneath his skin. It was stronger now, like an invisible force running through his veins. No, he answered, but I know one thing. Humans don't break easily. Whispers rippled through the chamber, some disbelieving, some amazed, some afraid. The Drath Chancellor leaned forward with narrow reptilian eyes. Then show us, he hissed. Show us this power the Queen fears. Ryan blinked, confused. What do you mean? The Chancellor tapped a control device, and a holotable rose from the floor, glowing blue. A sharp image appeared above it. Ryan's recorded wound from Outpost Theta, the gash across his shoulder, deep enough to expose bone, fatal by all standards. The council members gasped when they saw it, the wounded Ryan trembling, bleeding, barely standing. Then they watched the impossible. The wound sealed, cell by cell, the shredded muscle weaving itself together, the skin closing, the blood flow stopping. Some delegates recoiled, others leaned closer in shock. The Garum warlord growled in disbelief. That is not healing, he thundered. That is rebirth. The Vishar Queen pointed a talon at the hologram, her voice rising. And that is why humans are a threat. They evolve in chaos. They adapt in war. They grow stronger the more you push them. Ryan stepped closer to the council table, the glow in his eyes brightening slightly. He spoke calmly. You fear us because we fight harder. The Queen snapped. No, human. We fear you because you survive what should kill you, and you come back stronger. A heavy silence settled over the chamber, the tension growing thicker, like a storm gathering before a lightning strike. Suddenly, the high speaker raised its shimmering energy hand. The entire chamber fell silent in an instant. The speaker's voice crashed like thunder through the hall. We have summoned the human not to punish, but to understand. The speaker turned its luminous face toward Ryan. Commander Calder, step forward. Ryan moved to the center of the circle, the glowing floor shifting beneath his boots like liquid light. The speaker spoke. We will perform a resonance scan on the human. a harmless procedure to analyze biological frequency and cellular structure. The Vishar Queen scoffed sharply. It will not be harmless on him. Ryan narrowed his eyes. What do you mean? She stepped forward, lowering her voice. Your biology is unstable now, human. Scanning you may trigger the change inside you. Ryan felt the warmth pulse again, harder this time, like a heartbeat growing too strong for his chest. He clenched his jaw but did not step back. If the galaxy needs answers, then scan me. The speaker nodded and raised both hands, energy gathering like swirling starlight, forming a beam that descended toward Ryan. It was soft at first, a gentle glow that brushed against his armor. But then, everything shifted. The beam hit his skin, and the warmth inside him exploded like fire. Ryan gasped, gripping the edges of the scanning platform, his muscles tightening, every cell in his body waking up at once. Delegates jumped back. The Vishar Queen hissed. It's beginning. Ryan's vision blurred. His heartbeat roared in his ears. The glow beneath his skin intensified, spreading from his chest to his arms, to his throat, to his fingertips. His body trembled as if trying to contain a new kind of energy. Marbled light rippled across his veins. His bones vibrated. His senses sharpened until every heartbeat in the chamber echoed in his skull. The speaker stuttered. This reaction is impossible. The Luray priestess whispered. He is synchronizing with the energy field. The Garum warlord roared. He's absorbing it. Ryan dropped to one knee, but instead of collapsing, he steadied himself with one hand, gripping the floor so hard, cracks formed beneath his fingers. The chamber quaked, walls trembling, crystals shaking loose from the ceiling. Mara screamed from the doorway. Ryan, stop the scan! But Ryan's voice rumbled like thunder. I can't. It's pulling something out of me. The queen grasped the rail tightly, her eyes widening in a mixture of fear and awe. No, she whispered. It is not pulling something out. It is waking something already inside you. The scan shattered in a burst of white light, the energy beam recoiling violently, and Ryan rose to his feet slowly, his eyes glowing bright as stars reflected on water. The room fell into shocked silence. The speaker trembled. This is beyond evolution, the queen whispered. This is ascension. Ryan exhaled slowly, the glow fading but not disappearing. He looked around at the terrified and mesmerized council members. Then he spoke in a quiet, steady voice that echoed through the hall. You wanted to understand humans. He stepped forward, the floor glowing beneath each footstep. Now you will. And the galaxy realized in that moment that humans weren't changing. They were awakening.
The chamber felt different now, as if the very air had shifted around Commander Ryan Calder. The glowing cracks he had left on the floor still shimmered faintly beneath him. The delegates across the council chamber stared in stunned silence, some afraid, some confused, some unable to look away from the human whose body had unleashed power beyond anything they had imagined. Ryan's breathing steadied, the glow beneath his skin dimming, but never disappearing. It was part of him now, alive and quiet, like a second heartbeat waiting for a call. He lifted his gaze toward the council, his eyes calm but burning with new light. The high speaker of the council spoke first, its voice carrying both authority and fear. Commander Calder, what you have shown is beyond anything we have witnessed in thousands of cycles. The Vishar Queen stepped forward, her talons clicking sharply against the crystalline floor, silver wings trembling with tension. You see, she said, her voice sharp, this human does not simply survive. He evolves. He bends energy to his will. She pointed at Ryan, voice rising. This is not natural. This is a threat. A wave of murmurs filled the chamber, some agreeing, others protesting. The atmosphere crackled with tension. Ryan stepped forward, and the entire hall quieted at once. "I am not a threat," he said, his voice steady, "but I am something new." The Lurai priestess leaned closer, her glowing hands clasped together. "What are you, Commander?" Ryan closed his eyes for a brief moment, searching for an answer. The warmth inside him pulsed gently, like an ancient memory whispering through his blood. "I am human," he said simply, "and that has always been enough." Some delegates exchanged confused looks, but the Vishar Queen hissed again. "No species changes like this in minutes," she snapped. "No species adapts in battle like this. The Dominion has fought humans for years, and every year you change. Every war makes you stronger. Every defeat pushes you forward. You have no limit." Ryan met her gaze without fear. "We survive," he replied quietly. "That is our nature." The Queen shook her head sharply. "No, human, it is more than that. Your evolution is accelerating. Your biology is rewriting itself in ways that should take thousands of years." Her voice lowered. "You are becoming something the galaxy cannot control." The High Speaker raised a hand, silencing the hall. "The Council will now determine humanity's fate." Mara, who had been watching from the edge of the chamber, stepped forward desperately. "You can't decide without hearing the full truth," she shouted. "Humans did not cause this evolution. The war did. Your attacks did." The Garum warlord roared. "Explain." Mara took a deep breath. "You hunted us, pushed us, forced us to fight for every inch of survival, and humans do something in those moments that other species do not." She looked at Ryan, eyes filled with fear and pride. "We change." Ryan stepped beside her, his presence quiet but powerful. "When the universe tries to break us," he said, "we don't break, we bend." He lifted his hand slowly, and the chamber seemed to lean toward him. "We don't grow stronger because we want to destroy," he continued. "We grow stronger because we refuse to disappear." The Drath Chancellor hissed thoughtfully. "Adaptation as a defense." The priestess whispered, "Evolution through adversity." The High Speaker addressed Ryan again. "Commander Calder, why did this awakening start with you?" Ryan looked down at his hands, the faint glow beneath his skin flickering softly. "I don't know," he answered, "but maybe it didn't start with me." The room tensed. Ryan continued, "Maybe humans have always had this inside them, waiting for something big, dangerous enough to wake it up." The growl gra, and once awakened, it cannot be undone. Ryan's voice sharpened. "You fear what we might become, but you never ask what made us become it." The Queen froze for a moment, her silver slit-like eyes narrowing. "What are you implying, human?" Ryan stepped closer, standing just meters from her. "You forced this evolution," he said, his eyes glowing brighter for a moment. "You hunted us, you burned our cities, you pushed our species to the edge, and instead of dying, we adapted." He lifted his chin. "You forged what you now fear." The Queen's wings twitched, her voice low and trembling. "No one could have predicted this." The High Speaker raised its shimmering hand. "The question now is not blame, but judgment." The chamber lights dimmed as the Council prepared its vote, tension thickening to paralyze every thought, every breath. The delegates raised their hands, their symbols glowing in the air. Vote to condemn humanity. Vote to fear them. Vote to isolate them, or destroy them. Mara reached for Ryan's arm, whispering, "No matter what they decide, we stand together." Ryan nodded slowly, his voice soft. "We always do." The lights pulsed, one by one, illuminating the votes. Many feared humanity, but many also respected them, and some admired them. Finally, the High Speaker announced, "The Council chooses not destruction." A wave of relief swept through the chamber, though the Queen's expression tightened in frustration. "But humanity," the Speaker continued, "is to be monitored, studied, and understood." Ryan exhaled slowly, but the Speaker wasn't finished. "Commander Ryan Calder," it said, "you are the first awakened human, and the galaxy will look to you to understand what humans are becoming."
Ryan stepped forward. "Then I will show them," he said quietly, "not what they fear, but who we truly are." The chamber fell silent. The Queen stared at him, silent for the first time, her eyes filled with something she had never shown before. Not fear, not hatred, but respect. Ryan turned toward the exit, Mara beside him, the light reflecting off his armor, the glow under his skin slowly fading as the warmth settled again, waiting, listening. Because this was only the beginning. The first awakened human had taken his place in the galaxy, and humanity's future had changed forever.